Welcome, everyone, to our Saturday morning webinar. And we are continuing our series from Napoleon Hill with his book, Think and Grow Rich. And my name is Judy Feldhausen, and I'm joined today by my good friend, Bob Wischmeier.
Yeah, I'm here as well, everybody. Thank you for joining us this morning. It's always great, and we certainly do appreciate it. We chose to spend some time with Napoleon Hill. We've commented before a little bit about maybe a little bit of controversy about his past, but it doesn't matter. The things that he has to share are important and good and valuable to us, and we appreciate that. It was Ted Earl who had recommended. He really likes Napoleon Hill's writings. It's been helped him in the course of his lifetime, and we thought, well, okay, Ted, let's follow through and spend a little bit of time in this book. I think it's one of the most well-read books on self-improvement probably ever written, and millions of copies sold since 35, something like that.
Yeah, 39, I think.
39, yeah. So it goes back a long, long time. And this morning, the heading of the chapter this morning is visualization of, belief in, attainment of desire. And of course, that's a very, very interesting. I've never seen that faith, if you will, described like that. Visualization of and belief in and attainment of desire, Judy. So let's go ahead and talk about this.
Absolutely. And you mentioned, Bob, about what the definition of faith was, which I thought was interesting, all the history.
I thought it was too. You know, as I was reading through this, I thought I'm going to just look up the word faith. I mean, I've always thought I pretty much knew what faith was, but so we decided maybe we would share what Wikipedia says, that the word faith is derived from the Latin word fides. I don't know how, I'm probably saying it wrong, and the old French word FEID is confidence or trust in a person, thing, or concept. In the context of religion, one can define faith as belief in God or in the doctrines or teachings of religion. It's a noun. It means complete trust or confidence in someone or something. I thought it was interesting, Judy, I don't know if you noticed in my notes, but it says, quote, this restores one's faith in politicians. And I thought, no,
there's not much that's going to restore my faith in politicians, but
I wondered how that got into the writing, restoring one's faith in politicians. But anyway, it was in there. But I also read something I thought was really interesting, a couple of things. The faith is to hope for things which are not seen, but which are true. You show your hope for something that you can't see yet. Or in Hebrews, for example, in the New Testament, in chapter 11, it says, now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. And Napoleon Hill states that faith is a state of mind which may be induced or created by affirmation or repeated instructions to the subconscious mind. He suggests that you have to convince yourself that you believe that if you do that, you will receive that for which you ask, and your mind will act upon that belief. And quite frankly, that's true, and it works, doesn't it, Judy?
Well, really, look at all the things that we have faith in. One of the first things that comes to my mind, we always talk about the weather, right? Yeah. You have faith that the sun's going to come up in the morning. It has all your life since you were born. And so we have faith that tomorrow morning, the same thing is going to happen.
Well, it's absolutely true that basically the whole universe is in harmony. They're just these givens in life. It's even something as simple, Judy, as walking up or down a set of stairs. You have faith that each of those risers is going to be the same distance. When they aren't, what happens? You trip up the stairs or you fall down the stairs because they aren't consistent. But you have faith that they will be, because that's how life is, and that's how it's supposed to be. So, Judy, are we good with me kind of sharing these thoughts that I had about
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And, you know, the question comes to mind is how do we really develop faith so that you can develop a faith in something new? That's what we're hoping today is that with the information that we're sharing, you will develop a new faith, a new desire, and
Yeah,
be able to attain that.
exactly. And, one of the things that Judy and I tried to do during all of our leadership development webinars is to, and we sort of have to, is to preach from the pulpit of memory, if you will, to use stories or experiences or incidences from our personal lives to help us to relate to whatever it is that we want to teach or what we want to share. This whole concept of faith, you don't think about it a great deal, but inherently we practice this all the time. Years ago, I made a couple of plans that, for the most part, were kind of out of my reach. Really, they just were. I wanted to find myself in a position in life where I could move back to my farm operation here in North Idaho, but I didn't want to come back and have to, drive, 30 miles to town to work and that kind of thing. So what happened is, first, I felt like we had to be debt free in order to make this move and to do this the way we wanted to do it. So Bonnie and I took Dave Ramsey's financial freedom class. And Dave Ramsey teaches a great class. And so we signed up for it, paid $100 and took the financial freedom class. We just needed to set a few specific goals, things that we already knew, already understood, but we'd never really written them down. And then we went to work on completing those goals. And sure enough, we made it. We became debt free and in record time, I think. We knew it would happen and could happen if we moved forward with intent, with real intent. And we had faith that the process would work. Well, the process did work. We had faith that it would. We did our studying. We went to work, set our goals, and it worked. The second thing, in order for us to do this, make this big move, this huge change in our lives, I knew that I was going to have to find some kind of work that I could do from home. I just couldn't I couldn't drive all the way into town and back every day. It would just simply defeat the purpose of living out in the country. I knew it could happen, but I didn't know how that was going to work. And then what happens? Synergy Worldwide comes along. And, and the rest of that is just history. The fact that as a business, we have a home-based business that can and will change our lives. And that's why we're all on this webinar, why we do our Monday morning conference calls and those kinds of things, keep our group together, keep our team together, because with a home-based business, you can work from home. You can find ways to make a living without having to drive all the way into town. Corinne Brandley used to call work a four-letter word. That was kind of interesting. I was smiled when she would say that, but the point is that had to happen in order for us to do this. But I had faith that somehow we could make that happen, and it did happen. There were some purchases that I wanted to make. I know this sounds funny, but I wanted to buy a tractor. I wanted to buy a new tractor. I wanted to buy a nice Toyota Tacoma pickup. But those things were just a little out of the picture financially. But I had that hope and that faith that if I could put all of these other things together, those purchases would come together. I could build a shop that I wanted to build. And I mean, one thing after another just sort of fell into place. There were times when I used to think that, I'd get up in the morning, I'd feel like I was getting away with something. It was so good that it just was amazing to me. But that happens when you have faith. I couldn't see it. It was like a little bit beyond what I could do. And yet exercising faith in that hope, in that mindset, it worked. It came to pass. It worked. And Judy, for me, that's been life-changing.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And so you actually did the practice of creating an affirmation, repeating it, right? Lots of times. Then out of that affirmation becomes belief. And then out of that belief, you practice to make it happen. And that's exactly what you did with the farm.
Yeah.
And I did the same thing recently with actually my belief in money. So I had some money that I wanted to do something with, and I affirmed that I would do something that would continue to pay me. And I looked at all the different options, decided to buy a house, believed that I would find one in my price range with the attributes I wanted, and to be able to then turn it into a short-term rental. And so I put that into practice, and it all happened very, very quickly. And in fact, now that the rental is up and running, within 2 days, I actually had 2 bookings, and I have someone in my short-term rental right now.
That's awesome.
It is so awesome. And it happened quickly. Sometimes things take a long time to believe in, and sometimes they don't. But you can't just decide and have it happen. This morning, actually, my son came over, and we were talking about one of his employees, and his employee has gotten into the habit of drinking and eating poorly. And the reason that he's doing that is because he had faith that he could make himself better. That faith happened for one day. He decided to eat better, and he didn't drink. And the next day he felt bad. So he then went back to the bad habits, and they're becoming worse and worse. So faith works, both ways, I guess, because he's got faith. His faith is that he's not going to get better. So in order to develop those positive and affirming beliefs, we have to repeat them constantly. David Munoz talks about affirmations all the time. You have to wholeheartedly believe with your mind and your heart and your soul that those positive changes that you are working for is going to happen. It's going to, they are true. So as a challenge right now, think about some of the negative feelings that you have about something. The first thing that you want to do, can you think of that negative feeling like, oh, gee, I'm not good at talking to strangers, right? So think about that negative. You can say that over and over, and then it becomes the truth. Well, if you can take that negative feeling and just flip it over to positive, turn it around to something that is similar but positive. So I remember when I was first going out and talking to strangers about my business, I felt very uncomfortable. And so I didn't want to. I'm like, I'm not really good at that. So what I did is I turned it around to, I look forward to meeting someone new today. And by saying that to myself over and over, it's not about talking to strangers. It's about meeting someone new. That whole feeling, that aura around me changed. And I don't know about you, but can you feel the difference in those two statements from the negative to the positive? To me, the positive is so much lighter. There's possibility in it. And there's the belief that, oh gosh, I'm going to meet somebody new today. Hasn't anything to do with strangers. It does, and it doesn't, right? So, we need to be able to take those negative thoughts. Think about your negative thought and how you can turn it around.
Yeah, Judy, made me think about that little book we read years ago called Go for No. Do you remember that book?
Yeah.
Yeah. You just completely flip that switch in your mind from a negative to a positive. The more no's you have, that means you're just that much closer to finding a yes. So yeah, it's just exercising faith. We have to have faith in ourselves, and I think that's a key here to all that we're talking about is having faith in yourself, and faith gives life and power and action to the impulse of thought. That's how that works. It's kind of the starting point, isn't it? I think if you have faith in yourself, you can do something, you can get it done. How many times have I looked at something and thought, well, I don't know how to do this, but other people have done it, so if somebody else can do it, I can do it. I kind of go through life that way, and that seems to be the starting point for me. Really, it's the basis of miracles. Isn't that safe to say, Judy? You've got to make this investment. You have some capital that has to be invested. It's put into a 1031 exchange or something like that. But you still have to reinvest in something of equal or greater value. You do that, you find a way to do it, and boom, things just start moving forward. The miracle begins to happen because you have faith that it will. And you put that positive energy, that abundance mentality to work, and things begin to work for you in really miraculous ways sometimes. I think it's sort of the antidote for failure, faith is, if you will, an antidote for failure. Does that sound fair? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I was looking at another book by Bob Proctor, one of our other favorite authors, and he wrote a book called You Were Born Rich. Kind of thought that it was kind of the same kind of thought as what we're doing here with Napoleon Hill. And he says, always remember that the image which you keep affirming in your heart or your subconscious mind is being impressed upon spirit, and spirit has the ability to convert your present dream into future reality.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Bob Proctor. Yeah, that's great. We really come to believe what we repeat to ourselves. I mean, that's just the bottom line, whether that statement's true or whether the statement is true or false, but whatever it is that we keep repeating to ourselves, that really comes to pass. And so you have to ask yourself, what are my dominating thoughts? I don't know how it is for everybody else, but I can get down sometimes. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and the reality that, since my son died, I've had a bit of a time. Things have changed for me somehow. I can't really put my finger on it exactly, but I'm not the same person that I used to be, and I know that it's been hard, and sometimes I can allow the wrong kind of dominating thoughts to get into my mind, and when they do, it's just like a spiral. Keeping that power of positive thinking or that abundance mindset is really, I think it's kind of challenging. And I wanted to share something that Napoleon Hill wrote, if I could, Judy, for just a minute. He calls it the self-confidence formula. I thought it was interesting. And he says, first, I know that I have the ability to achieve the object of my purpose in life. Therefore, I demand of myself persistence, continuous action towards its attainment, and I here and now promise to render such an action. In other words, there's a call to action here. I know I can do it. And I'm going to do it. I realize that the dominating thoughts of my mind will eventually reproduce themselves in outward physical action and gradually transform themselves into physical reality. That's just how it works. It's going to happen. What dominating thoughts do we carry? I'm going to develop self-confidence, writing things down, write down a description of the definite chief aims that you have in life. We talk about this a lot, though, Judy, about how a goal has not been written down. It's just a wish or a hope. But when you write those goals down, those things that we want to attain, and have faith that we can get there, then they become realities. Oh my gosh. No wealth, no position can long endure unless it's built upon truth and justice. And I appreciated that. Sometimes we forget about how important truth and justice, integrity, those kinds of things play into what it is that we want to accomplish in life. If what we're looking to do and have faith that we can accomplish something, but it's not a good thing, then we're moving into a whole different realm. And anyway, we want to sign off on these affirmations and commit them to memory and move forward in a positive way. So anyway, just Napoleon's self-confidence formula, just things we've talked about before.
And yeah, and that's true. This has been repeated, but I love what you said about integrity and, putting things out there that are good, are going to happen. I believe that what you put out in the world will come back to you 7 times. So might as well put something good out there, right? And because if it comes back 7 times, just interesting. The gentleman across the street from me is having some challenges with his job, and instead of dealing with some payment issues on his wages, he decided not to go into work. So, it's going to come back to him. That's like, instead of getting $5 less an hour, he's getting 0. So, it's what you do comes back to you. And if you don't deal in integrity and responsibility, then that lack of is going to come back to you.
Yeah. And we all have those days, right? We all make mistakes. We all, blunder from time to time. And sometimes I feel like a bull in a china shop a little bit. And it's a part of life as well. And I think there's a measure of humility involved in this, Judy. We need to remember that every real and searching effort, right, it's self-improvement, it's a lesson in humility. It really is. And we can deceive our subconscious, though, in both good and bad ways, as you have written here. There's that apple, Adam and Eve, and but it can happen. There's kind of a cool poem. Do you want to read that poem?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be happy to. Because it really talks about the poem that I'm about to read really talks about autosuggestion. And I just love what it says. And many of you may have heard this. If not, please take it to heart, because it's the truth. So I don't know the title of the poem.
I don't either. And I don't know. Actually, he doesn't say who wrote it.
Yeah. But I have read it in many places. But what he says is, if you think you are beaten, you are. If you think you dare not, you don't. If you like to win, but you think you can't, it is almost certain that you won't. If you think you'll lose, you're lost. For out of the world, we find success begins with a fellow's will. It's all in the state of mind. If you think you are outclassed, you are. You've got to think high to rise. You've got to be sure of yourself before you can ever win a prize. Life's battles don't always go to the stranger or faster man, but soon or late, the man who wins is the man who thinks he can. Isn't that the truth?
Yeah, it certainly is the truth. I guess there are no limitations to our minds, except the ones that we put there, the ones that we acknowledge. Poverty and riches are the offspring of thought, and as Napoleon Hill says, and it certainly is the truth.
It really is true. And so I guess, when I always thought of faith, I always thought that it was just an internal thing that I just had, right? I have faith, and that comes from inside me. But when you think of how Napoleon Hill is talking about it, you can really develop faith. You can develop that faith that turns into belief that becomes desire. And that faith then really gives that life, that power, and that action to the impulse of all of our thoughts.
I do a lot of building, and I've been building this cottage, for example, for my sister. And from time to time, I find myself looking at something thinking, you know what, I don't know what I'm doing here. I don't know how to do this. And I'll just I told Bonnie and my sister Mary, I just need some quiet time. I got to be able to think this through. I'm not exactly sure how to do this. I know I can do it. I've just gotta gather my thoughts and concentrate a little bit here, and then I'll figure it out. I have the faith that I can do that. You know, I just have to be able to think it through, right? And then comes that power and the ability to act on those things and to get things done. Um, it's it's an external thing, I think. And
Well, Bob, when you say that, it reminds me of you and how you always say, I just think I'm going to ponder on that.
yeah, yeah, that's what it boils down to, isn't it? That you just stop and ponder for a while and think about things. And it's true with pretty much anything in life, really. Um, but I've enjoyed this chapter in the book. It's huge. The chapter is really long, you guys. He talks about all kinds of different things and people and experiences, and the stories are good. It's obviously written a long time ago, so it's a little bit different. But I don't know. I enjoyed this chapter, Judy, and it reminded me of things that I need to apply in my own personal life, and have a little bit more faith about certain things. And life is challenging for all of us. It's challenging for Bonnie and me here. It just, I guess I always thought that by the time I got to be as old as I am now, that everything would just be as smooth as silk. And it's kind of like the guy who said, and they lived happily ever after. And I think, well, maybe we ought to take that guy out behind the barn and horsewhip him. That's just not how life works. It isn't just happily ever after. There are just all kinds of challenges and things to face. But having faith that we're going to get through those things and move forward and find new ways to do things, whatever we need to do. With our synergy business, same thing. Applying those affirmations, looking at our business, trying to find new ways to make more money. We all need to make more money. If you haven't been hit by inflation and the things that are going on right now, I don't know how your stock portfolio looks, but mine is looking peaked. I don't know how much money I've lost in the last month. Last couple of years. I mean, it's just breathtaking, to watch my retirement shrink. And but got to have faith that it'll come back, and hope it will. And I guess
Or
that's
develop a new faith. Or develop a new faith,
Yeah.
So I think when people start getting into network marketing, especially for the people that were unsure of the whole concept of network marketing, really have to develop a new faith that it is going to work and how it's going to work, and continue to do those affirmations and create those beliefs and practice. And, 10,000 hours, right? That's what
Right.
it takes to become an expert. So,
Yeah. Malcolm Gladwell. Yeah.
yep.
No, it's true. And I guess it's the application of all those principles that makes the difference. It seems like knowledge without application just sort of condemns us, if you will. We need to be able to apply what we've learned and go forward in faith. So.
Yes. And being able to share that, sometimes that the faith that we share will land to someone that can pick it up and run with it. And it makes such a difference.
Yeah, it does. And, Stephen Covey talks about how important it is to have paradigm shifts. Just because you've always thought of something in a certain way doesn't mean that that's the only way. And you have to learn in this life anyway to be able to adjust your thinking a little bit. And that can change the day as well. So.
Yes. So, and it's a good thing that we can develop new external faith. And
it is
those internal life-changing beliefs.
It is, absolutely. Well, Judy, thank you so much. I know you've just been swamped with everything you've got going on. So thanks for taking the time to get on the call with me today. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, and thank you. And I hope the house is nearing completion.
Yeah. Well, pretty close. I've got 2 more lights to hang, and then I've got a hardwood floor to install. So.
Oh boy. That's awesome. Well, is there any questions or comments before we say goodbye today?
Hey guys, good morning. This is David.
Hey, David.
Hey, you guys right on with the topic on today in terms of our vision and what our you mentioned Bob Proctor and I listened to Bob Proctor and just love his videos and books. He mentioned something that Bob you reminded me of. He said that he says that there's two important things in a person's life, two very important days in a person's life. Obviously, the day you were born and the day you decide your purpose or you identify or discover your purpose. And then he was asked, well, how do you discover your purpose? And then he said, well, you take a pad of paper and you put it next to your favorite table or lamp, and you just get up every morning and just take a few minutes to write what your passion, what you really love to do on that paper, and just write it every morning towards it. And your life kind of gravitates towards it. So your topic today is right on in terms of the of following your passion, following your dreams, and acting on them. And they almost come to life by themselves as long as you follow your passion and you do the things you love. So thank you for today's topic. It's right on, and of course the mentioning of Bob Proctor and the way just things come to you, like Bob said, things just come to him when he thinks about it. It's so true. So thank you for sharing that. I just a reaffirmation for me today.
You're welcome. Thank you, David. Thank you.
Absolutely.
That's great.
Thank you, David.
Just
Anyone
a-
else?
Thank you, guys.
Just a comment. Thanks for today's topic, and it's always tough to come after David. But some of the things mentioned here today has been a great memory, and I appreciate, like I always do, this subject matter. And I just want to say thank you.
You're welcome, Donald. Great to
Oh, you're
always have you
welcome.
here.
Thank
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bob, Bonnie, and David. I mean, Judy.
Yeah.
Hey,
Sorry, sister, I renamed you.
that's okay, Ted. I go by anything, just don't call me late for dinner.
That's my philosophy. Don't call me late for food. Anyhow, thank you, folks.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and to you too, Judy. Bless you. And yeah, Monday morning, let's jump on the call if you can. Join us Monday morning, and we'll chat a little bit about our upcoming week. That'd be great. All
Absolutely.
right. Thanks, Judy. That's
Thank
it for
you.
me.
Me too. Take care, everybody. Have a wonderful
Yeah.
weekend.